Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Michael Dorsey here in Alpharetta, Georgia. I want to welcome everybody to our weekly Zoom that we do each week, and it's starting to grow. We have a little bit over 600 followers now, and a couple videos have over 1,000. One has over 2,000 views. So a lot of good things are happening with it. But I'm just grateful that we can have an impact in a positive way to help others without having to worry about them having to pay a lot of money to do it. But right now, we are reading a really good book. It's a little book, but it just is so applicable today to today's time. Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson. What a great book! I've been listening to the audio. I've read the actual book itself a couple of times because it's small, it's easy, and the story behind it is really good. But some key points that I kind of just thought about, as I always do, is to try to just share some things that I pulled from it and kind of put it into applicable words for us to think about. But adapting to change is the really the overall theme of the book is learning to adapt to change. And I read a long time ago, or either read it or heard it from an audio series or a podcast, that it's about those who are slowest to adapt to change are the ones that get left behind. And that was something that really stood out to me because the only thing that doesn't change is that things always change. Things are always going to change, in life. It's just what it is, right? So a couple of things that I was thinking about that might help as we move forward. So I'll go for about 10, 15 minutes and get some feedback, and we'll keep it kind of short and sweet and to the point like the book is itself. But highly recommend you read it and reread it throughout the next few years, especially because we are going through a lot of change in our society. We have been through the last few years, starting with the pandemic, and then as a result of all the things that did change, technologically and all these different things. But some of us get stuck in a rut. Some of us get stuck in our routine that is too routine, that becomes a rut. It's important to have a routine, but it's also important to be flexible. So some points that I would talk about when it comes to adapting to change that really I thought of as a result of reading Who Moved My Cheese was, number one would be, don't get trapped in your comfort zone. Don't get trapped in your comfort zone. I think it's important because many of us have already earned all the money that we can possibly make inside of our existing comfort zones. And we've also grown as far as we can grow inside of our existing comfort zone. So push yourself to become a lifelong student and to expect change, expect things, and be ready to be agile and maneuver when necessary. So don't get trapped inside of your existing comfort zone. Make sure that you're always trying to grow it and expand that comfort zone so that things that are uncomfortable for you become more comfortable for you. Which leads me to number two would be, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay, and that's just something that just makes sense. I remember years ago when I started, just really working out, really focusing on working out. It's like it's not comfortable at first. Okay, and that's just one example. It's not comfortable at first when you're first doing it, but once you continue to be consistent, and the consistency develops that discipline, and you have the motivation to start, first of all, but the motivation gets you going, but the discipline keeps you growing. And so you have to learn to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden, the things that you always do become more comfortable. I remember growing up, I had a great dad. My dad was amazing. And he shared with me many, many times. I can't tell you how many times I've heard in my life that he used to say to me, Michael, you've got to learn to become comfortable with the things that you're not comfortable with. You've got to do the uncomfortable things in life in order to be able to do the comfortable ones. So in other words, get yourself outside of your comfort zone and really make sure that you are, pushing yourself and you're growing in those areas, and always embrace that. So focus on long-term benefits. So when you're in this position where maybe anxiety arises, maybe some challenges arise from the discomfort, when you focus on the long-term benefit from it, what happens as a result of that is it becomes more comfortable. Okay. So you're able to overcome the anxiety and the challenges by focusing on what it is on the other side of it. Right. So in the book, their example was, going through a maze to find cheese. And one day, I mean, for a long time, the cheese was in one location. They knew exactly how to get there. And the cheese was comfortable. It was almost like, maybe you find the right job security, or you find something you think is secure, the financial benefits from it. And then you find the right home, and it's paying for your home, it's paying for your bills, paying for the mortgages, paying for all this stuff that you have. You get really comfortable, and all of a sudden, boom, you lose your job, you downsized, you're right size, your business goes out of business. John Wynn can talk about that. But the bottom line is that things change on a dime, right? So don't get too comfortable in the position you're at. And so they're going through this maze, and all of a sudden one day, after being there for many times, finding the cheese in that spot, it's all gone. And two of them by nature just move on and keep going. Two of them stay. One of them wants to go, but the other one convinces them not to, him and Haw. And to make a long story short, finally, I forget which one did finally bail. I think it was Haw, or him. I don't know. Anyways, but one of them decided to keep going, and it was really uncomfortable, and was fighting all kinds of anxiety and obstacles, and his own mindset, and the fear, which is false evidence appearing real, right? So that fear was holding him a little bit, but he kept going. He kept going because he was focused on what was on the other end of that. And he started finding little pieces of cheese here and there. It wasn't the abundance that he found before, but eventually he gets to a point where he goes and finds the other two mice that went on without him by nature, and they were already in this room. And he'd never seen so much cheese in his life. But beyond that, he started to inspect it and started to look for things that might be changing. So he started going beyond and outside and going into different spots in the maze to see where else could I go if something happens here. And so they keep their mindset open. So he, obviously overcame the fear, did it anyways, because his end goal, whatever your end goal is, whatever your end game is, which is, just your ultimate result, I would say is a better term for that. Make sure that you're always focused on that, because that allows you and I to overcome things that can drive us nuts sometimes and make us feel anxious and cause fear in our lives, which is not necessarily, it's not something that we want to be having happen to our lives. Number three would be embrace that growth mindset, which allows you and I to help with numbers 1 and 2. So when you embrace a growth mindset, you're not trapped in your comfort zone because you're always trying to grow, and you're comfortable being uncomfortable sometimes because you're growing your comfort zone. So when you embrace that growth mindset, and you're focused on the long-term benefit, whatever that goal is for you, your ultimate, satisfaction, and whatever that dream is for you, you can view change as an opportunity to learn and grow rather than a setback. Because things do change, and sometimes we do get stuck in our ways. We just do, but that's human nature, I think. But I think that if you and I are ones that adapt to change quickly, we're going to get to accomplish things that we want to accomplish. Plus, we learn things. We learn more, we grow more, and we're more fluid and agile when it comes to just being able to just keep moving. So embrace a growth mindset. I think it's really important. Number 4 would be to stay flexible. Obviously, be open to altering your plans, to be able to change on a dime, maybe approach something as new information, and as things and circumstances arise, you're able to just kind of be ready to, okay, maybe I need to pivot. It's a great word, to be able to pivot on a dime. When something does happen, you're able to make that change and stay flexible, and be very fluid, if you will. Number 5 would be visualize success. I think it's important for whatever your definition of success is. We all have our definitions of success, right? But whatever your definition is of success, what that means to you is a personal thing, but make sure you envision it, to help you overcome obstacles, overcome challenges, And as you envision that, what happens is you have that mental rehearsal that's prepares you emotionally and helps you build confidence. It's like we hear all the time about Olympic athletes and professional athletes that they close their eyes and they're focused on their goals, and they're praying, they're meditating, they're visualizing success, they're visualizing it, and you hear them over and over saying, "I saw it 10,000 times before I got the gold medal." I visualized it in my head. I saw it, so many times before I won that or became a champion, because I was already there in my head before I got there. So you hear those professional athletes that do that, and it just prepares them emotionally, and it builds confidence. So anytime that you encounter any kind of discomfort, if you're visualizing it, you're more ready to face it when the challenges do arise. So have an image in your mind of what success is for you, which helps with like having a vision board. We've talked about that. And I always talk about a vision board being your goals. So you write down your goals, and the vision board is just pictures of your goals. Because if a picture's worth 1,000 words, imagine what a vision board does to your goals. I mean, I look behind John's left shoulder and I see his vision board back there. John wins, and if you look at his screen there, it's like those are the things that he wants to accomplish, and they're personal to him. But the bottom line is that he has them written down. That's why the guy makes multiple six figures a year. He's made well over $1 million in the company, and at one point he was homeless, sleeping in his car under a bridge, and he was trying to get his daughters back. So guys, I mean, when you can do that, and you can visualize it, and you can fight like heck to accomplish your goals, you can accomplish anything you want to. I mean, if you read the stories of people that have overcome unbelievable obstacles, there's nothing that can stop you except the person you see in the mirror. You got to be able to fight. You got to be able to dig deep and grind and get through this. And that's why we have these Wednesday night Zooms. And that's why we have the YouTube channel set up, so you can maybe pick some piece of information, just one little nugget that helps you get to that next level. Maybe you share this with somebody you love and care about that might be struggling with some mental, issues, or some depression or something like that. Share this stuff with them so it can help them stay focused and move forward. The next thing I would say, number 6, would be to focus on what you can control, because sometimes we get so spun up and we get all twisted up about things that are completely out of our control, and it can absolutely take us off track. It can take a day out of our life. It can take a week out of our life. It can take a month out of our life. And many times it's happened to so many people when we're not focused on things that we can't, if you can't control it, when you focus on that, it's something that you're spinning your wheels. Don't do that to yourself. I mean, why would you bring that anxiety and bring that kind of stress into your life? If you can't control it, identify the aspects of whatever the challenge is or the change is that you can influence, and work on the areas that you can't to help reduce that anxiety. Don't even focus on them, because it's something that you can't you can't change anything about it. So just adapt to it, find out what the exact details on. So information is powerful, right? So, just before you jump to, some kind of a conclusion in your head, jump to an opinion, analyze it, and just take it in, sit back and relax. And, remember that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So listen twice as much as you speak, but also read and research before you inform any kind of opinion, and let some time pass. It's really important to do that, and I'm not always perfect with this, but sometimes, I love what Herm Edwards says on ESPN. When Herm used to be on there all the time, he says, "Don't push send." So he said, you can get all wound up about an email or a text or something, but just don't hit send. Go type it, but go type it up in your notes section or on a Word doc or something like that. But just don't hit send. Sleep on it, and then wake up the next day and read it again and see how it makes you feel. And if it makes you go, God, what was I thinking last night or whatever, then don't send it, right? So, I mean, I've done that before, right? And it helps. It helps. But if you feel like, okay, maybe I make a few adjustments here, and how can I approach it in a way that's positive and not negative? And that's so critical. So again, focus on what you can control. I have other ones that I want to talk about next week. But for the sake of time, what I'd love to do is have it open it up to some of the great faces I see on here. Any comments that you all have, I'd love for you to raise your hand. Mikkel's already done that. Just go down to that little heart, that kind of crooked heart down there, sideways heart, hit react and raise your hand. And any compliments, questions, or comments, I should say compliments, but comments, just do that. So we appreciate that. So let me go ahead and go out to Mr. Mikkel Hancock. How are you, my friend? Over to you. You should be fine.
Man, Mr. Dorsey, this is so good. Like, I'm so glad. Like, I love this book. And I'm glad that you chose it because I kept looking at it several times before you mentioned it. And then you mentioned it. So there was the reason. But super, super good. And I want to hit on two things and I want to comment on a couple of things that you had said as well. Uh, and I wrote it down as get comfy being uncomfy.
Yeah.
Get comfy being uncomfy, you
Yeah.
know? And when you look at that, the fear of the unknown is natural, but it's something that can be defeated.
Yep.
Which was, which is shown in the book. But the fear of the unknown is natural, but it's something that can be defeated if we're willing to get out of our comfort zones.
Right.
You talked about it like John Wynn being homeless. I was homeless before as well, and it doesn't feel good. I mean, can you imagine being homeless, going out there trying to sell an opportunity?
No,
But
but
it not
thankfully.
right, but not a good feeling. But you turn around and you look at the results of it. Here we are. You were talking about vision boards. Mine's is right here. It stays in front of me because I have to look at it. It's even in my peripheral view.
Right.
I have to look at it. Even when I'm sitting here doing work, I have to look at my vision board. I got to look at my accountability board every single day. I sit right here. I got to look at it. I got to look at those things. And but we have to be willing to adapt.
Yep.
This is the situation that I'm in. If I don't have enough to change it, the best thing I can do is move with it
Right.
and stick around long enough until you can make enough money to make the decisions for yourself, and then you'll be a-okay, right?
That's right.
But it's such a good book, but just not being trapped and getting comfy, being uncomfy, and just recognizing that we have to adapt and adapt early. We have
Yep.
to. And when
Yep.
we can adapt early and make those quick decisions, life isn't as bad.
Nope.
It's not as bad when we can adapt early and just get comfortable being uncomfy.
Especially when you have the confidence, yeah, when you know what's coming, or you're expecting it, or you're just, just get to a point where you're not surprised when something changes, right? And so you're not surprised about it, and you say, okay, where's the opportunity here? What can I do to grow from this? Do I need to be looking elsewhere? Do I
Exactly.
need to do this, or whatever the case might be? There's so many of those things we can do. All right,
That's
thanks,
it.
Michael. Appreciate you. Appreciate your leadership, my friend. Let me turn it over to Mr. John Wynn. John, over to you.
Hey, thank you, Michael. Good stuff. You turned this book on to me many years ago, and I listened to it again today. I was driving to Myrtle Beach and back in an audio, and just great stuff. But it's funny how our mind is open or closed to opportunities depending on our situation. Before it took me to be down and out to listen to something like this. When we're raised that, oh, it's a pyramid scheme. I would have never listened to this opportunity. You know what I mean? It's crazy how that works. So I love the don't press send. That's
Yeah.
going on my board. I have like an anger board on my uh, in my bathroom, and I call it that, joking with you and everybody on the call, because we talk about don't get trapped in the comfort zone, and I got to look at that to kind of piss me off to go out there and sell and recruit. You know what I mean? Like, remember
Right.
all those people that told you this wouldn't work? Remember living in your car, that kind of stuff. I even think back, what Mikhail just said. It was tough recruiting when you're living, had a piece of crap car. And I just was selling. And me and you joke, man, God, if you'd recruited just a little bit back then, all those memberships you sold, and that's written on my anger board where now I just like recruit like crazy. So there's so many good things there. I love the also things I'm weak on. Focus on what we can control. There's so many things out there that pull at you and you want to jump into and put your opinion in. And man, I gotta admit, I have a problem with that too. And I'm getting better. But being called out on this kind of stuff, not really called out, but hearing from you, it makes me want to not focus on that and just what could I do more in my business and for my family if I didn't let these
Yeah.
distractions get to you. So, but it's tough to stay in when you have some success, Michael, you get comfortable. You know, what's the term? You get fat and you're comfortable. I've got to have little things that piss me off to remind me, go out there and recruit
Yeah.
more and do more. So, love this.
You-
Thanks, man. I'll send it back to you, buddy.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, you're a lot like me where you do things from having a little bit of a chip on your shoulder as a result of that, and I completely understand that. So we can get complacent too, right? Especially when we have success, we can get complacent, and to beat complacency is to find something that motivates you. So it's either, something that is aggravating, or something that you want to gain. That's something that's positive, but the end result is the same. We're all motivated, differently by different things in different situations. So just look for that sometimes when the change comes, so that we can pivot on the dime and make that our reason to go. One of the biggest things for me building my business was that I really, every time I heard someone say, "Oh, that's not going to work," that was like fuel on my fire that was in my heart, because I wanted to be successful. I knew I was going to be successful. And anytime somebody said that I couldn't be successful because I was only in my early 20s, and how are you going to talk to somebody in their 40s and 50s that have had great success and they make a lot more money than you do already, and you're not making any money? And I'm like, okay, watch me, just watch me, just watch me, and that's what drove me. So, all right, April, Landon, over to you. Thank you so much for unmuting everybody. Thank you. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. No worries. I think you picked an amazing book to read this time, especially the timing's perfect. I mean, we've got a new legal plan. And as being a legal shield for 27 years, or had the service for 27 years, it's kind of like, what? 3 plans? Like you have to learn how to pivot. So I really think this is huge to be able, because some people don't have that mindset, because it is a mindset to,
Yep.
so that they can think all these negative things, but it's not. And like Mr. Don Thompson had said, the companies did their due diligence or their background checks and things like that for over a year.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge that you picked this book. We actually studied this book for about a year ago. So it was nice to kind of get it back out and look at it again. But yeah,
Right.
being flexible and then having that vision board. So thanks.
All right. Very good. Thank you. I appreciate that.